Okay, good afternoon. Can you see a screen?
Yes, sir.
Okay. So as per the morning lecture discussion, we will see first how that universal testing machine works, and later on we'll see one virtual practical also on that universal testing machine. So here go. So see this video related to the universal testing machine carefully. Even I think you can whether this video is audible. Hello. Can anybody of you give me whether this voice is audible or not?
No, sir.
No. Okay. I will explain one by one. Now, in this case, as we are going to see this universal testing machine, first of all, we are going to have one base, rubber base, based on which there are two screws which are connected, and two supporting columns are there, steel columns. And later on, one lower plate is connected. To this lower plate, we can connect this lower plate to this guiding columns as well as to the screws. Okay, the screws can rotate, and the upper plate. Now this upper plate, you can see here the jaw of upper jaw, which is connected by means of lock nuts. These are the two top plates. Okay, and this, as the screw is going to rotate, the jaws can move up and down. Okay, and this up and down motion of jaws is calibrated to the load applied. That is, you can apply tensile load while the jaws are moving in upward direction, or you can apply compressive load when the jaws are moving in downward direction. Okay, this is another unit in which the scale is fitted so that as you increase the load, that is tensile load or compressive load, these two needles of this machine, one is what we can say the fixed needle, and second one is calibrated to the applied load. As these needles are going to move, these needles are moving in clockwise direction with simultaneous motion. But while this needle, which is actually calibrated to the load, when material get or this whatever may be the testing that specimen is going to get cut, it will suddenly come to the zero, but the second needle will remain at its position. Okay. We have on and off or pause button, up and down button for the jaws. In emergency, you can release the load if required. You can control value by means of other buttons, and this unit is connected to this machine, and one more pen holder is provided so that rotating drum can note down how much load or how much revolutions are taking place while these jaws are moving in upward or downward direction, and it can be recorded. This is how the universal testing machine looks like. Okay, so actually one more video is there from which we can get all the information related to the universal testing machine. See why? Because I am showing all these things because you have not actually conducted any experiment. See, as we have talked about this robust base, this lower jaw, okay, and this upper jaw. and these are the two needles. This red one you can see can rotate with this black one. Black one is calibrated to the load. Here is the drum on which you can have the recordings. With handle, you can operate the jaws of this upper and lower arm so that we can fit the specimen inside it. These are the two vertical screws, and these are two vertical guiding columns. Here we are going to have control panel on, off, or upward and downward motion of the jaws. This, see, this red needle we can see here can be rotated from the outside of the dial. And with the black needle which is calibrated. How it operates, that we'll see. Now machine has started. This dial is calibrated to the load. You can change the unit of that dial. See, the screws are rotating and the jaws are moving up and down. It has stopped now. Okay, we have seen how this machine get operate and how the testing can be done. Now actually we are going to shift to what we can say the virtual lab. Now directly here I have actually already I have come to the link of this virtual lab. You can search on Google also tensile test on mild steel. You can put in Google and you can directly will get this link. Okay. Now before going to this experimentation, we know as we have discussed in morning's lecture that what is the theory behind it, how we are going to conduct the test and for what purpose we are going to conduct the test. For drawing this stress strain curve for any material, we are going to conduct test on universal testing machine. Here you can see this test is particularly conducted for the mild steel. In case of mild steel, let me know first of all whether it is ductile material or
Ductile.
yeah, okay. It is ductile material. For this ductile material, we will have separate point as a yield stress. We will have separate point as a ultimate tensile stress. Okay. We can have these 4 different regions. Okay. In morning, we have seen broadly 2 only. That is, one is elastic and second one is plastic region. Okay. In case of this, here we can see the first region is elastic limit or elastic region it is called as. The material will behave in this region as an elastic material. Later on, yielding starts. Okay, that's this graph has become somewhat flat. Okay, it is called as yielding region. Later on, this total is plastic behavior of the material. This plastic region, we have seen only elastic and plastic, but in plastic, some part is devoted to the yielding. Then graph grace increase and strain hardening is done. Okay, that is where strain is increased very fast as compared to the stress, but in the plastic region only. Later on, necking is formed and ultimately this material gets failed. Okay, so this higher value of the stress, we are going to consider it as a, though it failure, actual failure, the pieces or the specimen is not converted into 2 pieces at ultimate tensile stress. Later on, after formation of neck, somewhat stress is released and failure is going to take place. But this higher most stress that you are going to consider as a ultimate tensile stress, which is generated in that mild steel material or in any material. Okay. So all the theoretical background has been given, that is what are that neck forming, what is the elastic limit and what the plasticity means. All this is given in this theoretical part. Now here you can observe that how the material gets failed. First of all, you can see this first diagram. When you are going to apply tensile load, what is going to happen here? The neck is formed, and after formation of this neck, fracture take place inside the material. That means this atomic bond gets released and some small area, teeny areas are generated where the 2 atoms are not in connect with each other. This teeny area is converted into a bigger fracture, okay, or crack, which gets grow inside the material, and later on the maximum stress is generated, and at 45 degree you can see the shear planes occur, and finally the fracture take place or failure take place, not fracture. Here you can say as a fracture, but here the failure take place, and this cup type of shape is formed here. This is what we can say the mechanism of the failure in tensile, so normal tensile test. Okay, it has explained here how actually the failure is going to take place. This is actual specimen, which here you can see how the neck has formed and the final failure has taken place. After this, we'll see procedure. I'll explain while we are going to do this experiment. Then evaluation, you can do your self evaluation. Okay, we are mostly concentrating on this simulator. Now here you can see as already I have conducted this experiment. That's why it is showing final results only. Once again, I'll load this. Test. Here is what we'll directly go to the simulator. Okay. Now in this simulation, you can see here one person is standing behind the universal testing machine. The universal testing machine, as already we have seen just now, that it contains two supporting columns and two screws which are going to rotate by means of motor. Okay, and this motion is given to the jaws. It will move up and down, and hence we can apply tensile or compressive load. Now, before all these things, what we have to do is that we have to generate one specimen. It is a standard specimen, okay, for which we are going to conduct the test. So first of all, we have to take dimensions with the vernier caliper. So the diameter is 12.55 millimeter. From other side also we have to measure the diameter. It is also 12.55 millimeter. Okay, and we observe that the average diameter of this rod which we are going to test is 12.55 millimeter. Then we have to measure length. You can see here the standard specimen has a length equal to 190 millimeter. Okay, between the holders. This rest of the part that we are going to fit inside the jaws of that UTM. Next, what we have to do is that we have to punch on this rod on the distance equal to 2.5 of the D. As the diameter is 12.55, you multiply it with 2.5. On that distance, you have to punch points so that one can observe what will happen to that points. A first point has punched. Second point will be at a distance equal to 2.5 of the diameter. Third point, go on clicking on that hammer. You can have feel that you are punching on that specimen. So we have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 punch on that diameter. Okay, we are not going to make a bigger what hole or impression on that specimen. That can be observed. That is very teeny, very small, which we can observe. After that, we have to adjust this jaw in such a way that we can fit this specimen inside these jaws. Here I have faced problem that it is not placed. Yeah. Now we have placed it. Then rotate this jaw in such a way that we will find the required distance, that is 190 millimeter only. We are going to put two different dial gauges so that one can measure the elongation which can be take place between these punch holes, or sorry, punch, not holes. So we can set this dial gauge at 0, this second dial gauge at 0. Its least count is 0.01 millimeter, this dial gauge least count. It can be measured the length which is changing by 0.01 millimeter also. Then we have to start by pressing this green button. We gradually are going to apply the load. You can see here, these dial gauges are moving, okay, and gradually load is applied. Here the neck has formed. Once this neck forms, this diameter is getting reduced, length is getting increased, and finally this, we can stop. We have to press the stop button, and finally what happens? This specimen breaks into two different parts. This data you can download, which we have conducted. Okay. This is the elongation which has taken place, which has measured with the dial gauge. Okay, by application of the load. As you are increasing gradually load in kilonewton, first it was 0, then 2.5 kilonewton, 5, 7.5. Okay, these are the steps by means of which we are increasing the load, and respective elongation we are going to see at the other column. So once you see it, you can draw this graph. Nowadays, this graph is drawn because computerized UTMs are available. Automatically, this graph is drawn at various points where we are going to have, see previous one, that is the, where we are going to have the, from the table, load versus deflection, which has taken place. From that, we can calculate strain, and that can be later on calculated stress, right? So we can draw this graph, okay, of load applied in kilonewton and the dimensions change which has taken place. You can see data, this data, okay. From this data only, we have drawn this graph. You can view the graph. At any point, how much load has applied and what is the deflection that can be seen. Next, this is load versus extensometer reading, that is extension which has taken place. The slope can be calculated, okay, delta x and delta y, that you can, delta y divided by delta x, that slope can be measured. And this is how we can see the neck formation has taken place and it has cut. Now you can measure how much deflection or diameter has reduced. This diameter has reduced by 7.5 millimeter. It was initially 12.55 millimeter. So how much reduction has taken place? .05 millimeter reduction has taken place in the diameter, and that much elongation has taken place in the specimen. You can check in between these 2 points, 0.1 millimeter. Initially, it was the final length between the punch marks. It was initially how much? One punch, because 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. That 2 punches were there, and the distance was 2.5 times diameter between the 2 punch or 2 points. So it is 2 times. That's why again multiplied by 2, and that was the distance initially. Now it has become 82.1. Can you do calculation? We'll do calculation in 1 minute. How much it was? 2.5 multiply with diameter was 2.5 multiply with 12.55. It was 31.375 millimeter initially, distance between 2 points. Now again we'll multiply by 2, because these are the 1 and 2 region, that is this distance. I'll take pen. This is one point, this is second point, and this is third point. Okay. So we have to measure this distance, this plus this. That's why I multiplied by 2. So initially it was 62.75 millimeter and it has elongated to 82.1 millimeter. Hence you can calculate the strain. Change in length divided by original length. You can calculate strain, right? So 82.1 minus 62.75. 82.1 minus 62.75. It has elongated by 19.35 millimeter. Divided by original length 62.75. Strain is 0.308. Okay, you can measure it. So from that, if you multiply with E, you will get the stress. How much stress has generated at the when the fracture has taken place or that material has breaked. Okay. Here you can put that values and directly you can again calculate the graph. Okay. For example, I will put here 40, 45, elastic is 350, elongation percentage is allowed for 15, reduction in area can be taken place by 10%. You can see this graph. Okay. So calculations can be done. You can check it. Okay. Percentage which has taken place. Modulus of elasticity. It is given in GPa, gigapascal. Okay. I written it into what we can say Newton per mm square. Now this type of experiment can be done. Any doubt related to this?
No, sir.
How the neck has formed and whatever may be the data which we are getting from this type of test, that data is related to what? Is related to this graph. So can you tell me which values we can get from the simple tensile test on UTM? Are you getting my question? Which data we can get from simple tensile test on UTM? What value we can get?
Principal stress.
Principal stress value we are not getting here. You can see this graph and you can check what we are getting actually.
Sir, question repeat.
What data we are getting from this test? Or which value will come to know from this test?
Ultimate stress.
Right, ultimate tensile stress, that value can be calculated. If the tensile test is conducted, ultimate compressive stress also can be, if you are going to do the compression. Then
Fracture stress, yield stress, and
right, fracture test, yield stress. Now yield stress and ultimate stress, these are the two important values of the stress that we can get from this test. How you apply the load, whether it is uniaxial or biaxial?
uniaxial, sir.
Uniaxial load we have applied and we are getting the result, right? Now when we are going to compare this test with the theories of failure, what one can say, that when the yielding is occurring, whatever may be that yield stress, that will be the stress which we can apply on any component. Am I right?
Yes, sir.
Yes. This is what we can conclude from this simple tensile stress. I'll repeat it once again. Okay. ही जी टेस्ट आहे, ह्या टेस्ट मधनं आपल्याला आपण कसा लोड अप्लाय करतोय, टेन्साईल लोड अप्लाय करतोय, युनिडायरेक्शनल, एकाच डायरेक्शन मध्ये आपण लोड इन्क्रीज करतोय. ओके. एकतर तो टेन्साईल करेल किंवा कॉम्प्रेसिव्ह करेल. आपण त्या दोन्हीवरनं आपल्याला दोन व्हॅल्यू ज्या मिळते, अर्थात हे मटेरियल डक्टाईल असल्यामुळे आपल्याला ही एक व्हॅल्यू मिळते, दॅट इज सिग्मा वाय यील्ड स्ट्रेस, आणि दुसरी व्हॅल्यू मिळते अल्टिमेट स्ट्रेस. फॉर सेक ऑफ सिम्प्लिसिटी आपण कन्सिडर करणार आहे की टेन्साईल मध्ये पण यील्ड स्ट्रेस आणि कॉम्प्रेशन मध्ये पण यील्ड स्ट्रेस सेमच राहते, जे की प्रॅक्टिकली पॉसिबल नाही किंवा प्रॅक्टिकली होत नाही. तसं कुठल्याही मटेरियलचं कॉम्प्रेशन सस्टेन करण्याची ताकद जास्त असते इलॉंगेशन पेक्षा किंवा टेन्साईल पेक्षा. टेन्साईल हे लवकर फेल होतं, कॉम्प्रेशन हे उशिरा फेल होतं. थोडा डिफरन्स आहे, पण इनिशियली आपण कन्सिडर करणार आहे आता की टेन्साईल आणि कॉम्प्रेसिव्ह हे दोन्ही पण आहेत, ते सेम स्ट्रेस आहेत. ओके, ठीक आहे. त्याच्यानंतर आपल्याला काय की आपण युनिएक्सियल लोड लावला, आपण फक्त त्या स्पेसिमनला ताणलं आणि तो स्पेसिमन ब्रेक झाला. आपल्याला दोन व्हॅल्यू मिळाल्या, एक यील्ड जिथं यील्ड स्टार्ट झालं तो पॉइंट, आणि एक फ्रॅक्चर किंवा जिथं तुटला तो पॉइंट. ओके, अल्टिमेट, हे दोन पॉइंट मिळाले. आता कुठलाही कॉम्पोनंट आपण तो स्पेसिमन काढला आणि समजा आपण रॉबर पुलला किंवा ट्रॅक्टर ओढायला ट्रॉलीच्या आणि ट्रॅक्टरच्या मध्ये त्याला जोडला, आणि तिथे सांगितलं की हा कधीपर्यंत तुटणार नाही, जोपर्यंत त्याचा यील्ड स्ट्रेस अचीव होत नाही तोपर्यंत. बरोबर आहे? म्हणजे जोपर्यंत आपण त्याच्यामध्ये इतका स्ट्रेस डेव्हलप करत नाही की जो यील्ड पर्यंत पोहोचेल. समजा तो मी यील्ड पर्यंत कधीही पोहोचू दिला नाही, तर आपण असं म्हणूया तो रॉड, तो स्पेसिमन, तो ट्रॅक्टर आणि ट्रॉलीच्या मध्ये सेफ आहे, तो तुटणार नाही. असं म्हणू शकतो का? माझा पॉइंट समजलाय?
Why, sir?
हा,
Once repeat, sir.
deliberately I have repeated it in Marathi. First I have told it into English. This test which we have conducted, on which we have applied only tensile load. Okay, likewise we will apply tensile load on the same type of specimen between tractor and trolley. Okay, and we'll keep always that stress which will be developed in that rod below the yield stress. So can we say that rod will be safe? It will not break, it will not undergo to the yielding. ट्रॅक्टरच्या आणि ट्रॉलीच्या मध्ये आपण तो जो रॉड जोडणार आहे तो कशासाठी? फक्त ट्रॉली पुल करायलाच ना. त्यात कुठले स्ट्रेस डेव्हलप होतील? टेन्साईल. बरोबर आहे?
Yes, sir.
ओके, आता जर टेन्साईल स्ट्रेस जर आपण कायम यील्ड स्ट्रेस ह्या व्हॅल्यू पेक्षा कमी ठेवले, तिथपर्यंत कधी रिचच केलं नाही, आपण एवढेच तिथे येऊन दिले, तर तो रॉड कधी फेल होईल का?
No, sir.
No. This is what we can say is the application, but it doesn't happen in practice. We cannot say that only tensile load will come while we are pulling trolley. There will be multiple type of loading, multiple type of stresses will be generated. That's why to match these experimental results which we are going to get from the simple tensile stress with the theoretical stresses which we have calculated, these theories of failure has been emerged. As theories of failure जे आहेत ह्या फक्त ह्या गोष्टीवर आधारलेल्या आहेत की सिंपल टेन्साईल टेस्ट मध्ये ज्या व्हॅल्यू आपल्याला मिळालेत त्या प्रॅक्टिकली आपण कशा वापरायच्या. त्याच्यानुसार वेगवेगळ्या इंजिनियर्स आणि सायंटिस्टनी आपली मतं मांडली. दॅट यू आर गोइंग टू कॉल एज अ थिअरीज ऑफ फेल्युअर. ओके, have you understood what is the theories of failure and for what purpose we are going to have these theories of failure? Any question related to that? Hello, you are free to ask. If you are not understood it, you are free to ask. Hello, can we move on this slide? Theories of failure कशासाठी असतात हे समजलंय का?
Yes, sir.
Yes, good. Now every time for every theory what we are going to do is that we are going to just check whether our assumption is correct or wrong. Okay, म्हणजे आपण असं अज्युम केलेलं की टेन्साईल टेस्ट मध्ये जे रिझल्ट मिळालेले आहेत त्याच्यानुसार प्रत्येक जी थिअरी सांगितली त्या थिअरीला कम्पेअर करून बघू आपण. ओके, नाव predicting failure in members subjected to uniaxial, just like we have seen in case of universal testing machine, uniaxial load is applied. Its prediction is possible, quite easy, because when we are going to apply only one type of load, tensile load, the prediction is that at yield stress that yielding will start. For the ductile material, we are going to assume that when yielding starts, material gets fail or component gets fail. Okay, and for ultimate stress for the brittle material, we are going to consider when the value reaches up to ultimate stress, material gets fail or that component gets fail. So designer has to always try that the stress which has developed that should be below the ultimate or yield. Ultimate in case of brittle, yield in case of ductile material. Okay, so what he can do, he know that stress is equal to force divided by area. So he can take maximum force which is coming. Stress value he can limit. म्हणजे yield stress पेक्षा कमी ठेवायचे हे आपण ठरवलंय आता. मग yield stress पेक्षा कमी व्हॅल्यू कन्सिडर केली आणि फोर्स किती येणार आहे तो आपण घेतला तर त्याच्यावरून एरिया काढतो आपण. And that area when you are going to calculate, that can decide that what will be the stress value which will be generated inside that component. Okay, but it is very easy for uniaxial. But in actual practice, what happens that uniaxial load is not coming. One cannot predict that how load is applied or how that load is coming in that component. So biaxial, triaxial loads are coming, and hence the failure of is occurring. काय म्हणतोय आपण फक्त युनिएक्सियल साठी आपण त्याला सेफ केलं, पण बायएक्सियल लोड त्याच्यावर अप्लाय झाला तर ते सेफ असेल की नाही हे माहित नाही. ओके, and that is predicted by means of these theories. Okay, thus theories were formulated to predict this issue which is known as theories of failure. Now here you can see that on this region multi loading is done, various loads are coming from different directions. So we can say here the stress which is generated may be at locally, but strength of this material is same everywhere. Somewhere stress may be higher, stress may be lower, but strength, that means its capacity, is same. We are assuming that material is homogeneous and its capacity of sustaining that load is same everywhere. Getting me? And to predict that where the stress may get increased, this slide we have seen in morning, these 5 theories are generated. Now these 5 theories, I'll read one by one, are given by various scientists and engineers. And when these theories are getting failed, then next theory has generated. We'll start from this first theory, that is maximum principle or normal stress theory. This theory is very, very basic theory, which will directly correlated to the test which we have conducted. An example which we have taken for the trolley and tractor. Getting me? But it is not holding good for all type of components. That's why second theory has generated. Whatever may be the drawbacks which are there in first theory that are overcome in second theory. But in that case also it has observed that this theory is not holding good. Okay, up to we can say 20% only failure chances are there. म्हणजे अगोदर जे 100% फेल्युअर होत होतं फर्स्ट थेरीनं ते फक्त 20% वरच आलं. पण 20% हे पण डेंजर आहे ना. Failure is taking place. That's why third theory has developed and it is known as maximum principle strain theory. Second theory is maximum principle stress theory. Third theory is maximum principle strain. Strain is measured. Okay. This is also little bit 10% failure was there. Okay. Then next theory has generated, that is maximum strain energy theory. Now energy has calculated for the given specimen or material, and that energy is correlated to the simple fracture which is taking place or breaking which is taking place in tensile test. कुठलाही पार्ट ब्रेक का होतो, कारण त्याच्यातली जी एनर्जी स्टोअर केलेली त्याला होल्डिंग करून ठेवायची ती एनर्जी संपते, म्हणजेच तो पार्ट दोन पार्ट मध्ये ब्रेक होतो. ओके. जोपर्यंत मी या खुर्चीवर बसलोय आणि ही खुर्ची सस्टेन करते, एनर्जी आहे त्या खुर्चीत माझा वेट सस्टेन करण्याची, तोपर्यंत ती वेट सस्टेन करते. पण ती एनर्जी जर संपली तर ती ब्रेक होते. ओके. दॅट इज व्हॉट वी कॅन से थिअरी which has developed and based on energy. But again that theory was giving little bit failures. That's why fifth theory has generated and it is called as maximum distortion energy theory. In this case distortion is considered. That means that total breakage has considered and that theory has developed. Now these theories are becoming complicated and more complicated and more complicated and complicated by its sequence. First is very simple, second is more complicated than first, third is more than two, fourth is more complicated than third, and fifth is more and more complicated than remaining all. So one by one we are going to see all these theories. Okay. Just keep in mind these theories are also known by their inventors. Okay. First theory is known as Rankine theory. Okay. He has given simple what we can say correlation between tensile test and failure. Then Tesca theory, then Saint Venant's principle of strain theory, then X theory, and last one is Von Mesh theory. Okay, that has developed by two scientists. Okay, Hankey and Von Mises. Okay, this Von Mises was Australian engineer. I'll tell about him later on. Now here you can see this first theory, that is maximum principle stress theory. Now in case of maximum principle stress theory, it says, where we are observing for the 2 dimension. Okay, it says 3 dimensional will become more complicated. So we are not going to the 3 dimension. We are observing all these theories in 2 dimensions only. Now here you can see one specimen on which sigma 1 is the principal stress which has applied in x direction. Sigma 2 is the second principal stress which has applied in y direction. Now what this theory says, this theory says that either sigma 1 value or sigma 2 value, if it reaches to the sigma y in case of ductile materials and sigma u in case of brittle materials, if any one value of these principal stresses reaches to the ultimate or yield, failure will be take place. Okay, it is very simple. Just now we have seen in case of that universal testing machine that when ultimate tensile stress is occurred, the specimen is broken into two pieces, or when yield starts, permanent deformation starts. Very simple, right? So according to this theory, what it says that this sigma 1 and sigma 2, sigma 1 or sigma 2, these values, if they are below the yield stress for ductile material or ultimate stress for brittle material, then we can say this component is safe. Okay, so we can draw the safety region for this theory. Now this is what the job of mathematics only. You should have the sound background of mathematics. What we have done, we have just only drawn the lines which are indicated by these equations, previous equations. This equation says that either sigma 1 is equal to or less than or equal to yield stress, or sigma 2 is less than or equal to yield stress. Okay. Now this we have considered when the tensile load is applied. What will happen when the compressive load is applied? This yield we can say as a negative one. Okay. Compression is done. When we are going to call tensile as a positive, compression we will call as a negative. Okay. So first equation we can say is sigma 1 is less than or equal to sigma y, sorry, plus sigma y, and sigma 1 is less than or equal to minus sigma y. These are the two equations. Equations are just like x is equal to a. A is the constant where sigma y is constant. So which is that equation? X is equal to a. कशाचं equation आहे? कोण सांगू शकेल?
Sir, equation of y.
हा? X is equal to a. कशाचं equation आहे? Hyperbola, parabola, straight line, line passing through a coordinate.
Equation of y, sir.
Equation of line passing through one single point. Am I right?
Yes, sir.
Yes, one single point. So that single point which we are going to get, how we are going to draw it? First of all, we'll draw horizontal axis of sigma 1. Then perpendicular to that, because principal stresses are always perpendicular to each other. Perpendicular line of sigma 2. म्हणजे x axis sigma 1 represent करतोय, y axis sigma 2 represent करतोय. Okay, where they are going to cross each other, that is the 0 0. Okay, then what we are going to see that sigma 2 is 0 and sigma 1 is reaching to the yield stress. I'll take point. Sigma 1 is reaching to its yield stress tensile. So what will be the coordinates of this point? After this, failure will be take place. Am I right? If you move in this direction, failure will take place. Here is the point, that is the limiting point, we can say, or limiting value of the stress which can govern the failure. Am I right? So at this place, this line which we have drawn is nothing but sigma y, where the value of sigma 1 has become equal to sigma y. बरोबर आहे? आणि सिग्मा 2 ची व्हॅल्यू किती असणार आहे त्या ठिकाणी? 0. हा पॉइंट मिळाला. ह्या पॉइंट मधून पास होणारी त्या सिग्मा 2 ला पॅरलल कुठलीही लाईन काढली तर ती लाईन ही इंडिकेट करते. ओके. The second case, if we apply compressive load, कुठपर्यंत कॉम्प्रेसिव्ह लोड अप्लाय करू शकतो आपण मटेरियल फेल्युअर न होण्यासाठी? तर सिग्मा वाय एवढं, म्हणजे मायनस सिग्मा, कॉम्प्रेशन साठी वापरले मी मायनस सिग्मा वाय. Getting me? Where this value of sigma 1 is going to become equal to sigma y minus sigma y. And value of sigma 2 is 0. Ultimate point काढलेत आपण हे दोन्ही पण. Okay. Between these, if we don't apply any second principal stress, then the failure will occur because of first principal stress only. Okay. Are you agree with me? Have you understood it? Let me know in comments. हे समजलंय का? Hello? Are you able to listen me?
Yes, sir.
Okay. हे दोन पॉइंट समजले कसे आलेत?
Some critical.
Hi, it is because you should have knowledge of background of the strength of material as well as Mohr circle, principal stress and mathematics. काय नाही, सिंपल गोष्ट आहे. इक्वेशन आपण जे मांडलं होतं त्यामध्ये दोन पॉइंट आहेत, एक आहे सिग्मा 1 आणि दुसरा आहे सिग्मा 2. पहिल्यांदा काय केलं आपण की सिग्मा 2 ची व्हॅल्यू 0 मांडली आणि सिग्मा 1 ला वाढवत गेलो आपण. कुठेपर्यंत जाऊ शकतो? सिग्मा y एवढं. त्याच्या पुढे जर वाढवलं तर काय होईल? तुटणार आहे तो पार्ट. त्यामुळे आपण लिमिटिंग व्हॅल्यू झाली त्याची सिग्मा y. बरोबर आहे का?
Yes, sir.
बरोबर. कॉम्प्रेशन केलं त्याचं, कुठेपर्यंत जाऊ शकतोय आपण? सिग्मा y एवढंच. आपण कन्सिडर केलंय टेन्साइल मध्ये आणि कॉम्प्रेशन मध्ये स्ट्रेंथ सेम आहे. फक्त काय केलं, कॉम्प्रेशन केलंय म्हणून त्याला निगेटिव्ह म्हटलं मी. समजला हा दुसरा पॉइंट कसा आला?
Yes, sir.
आता काय केलं आपण, सिग्मा 1 ची व्हॅल्यू 0 ठेवली आणि सिग्मा 2 टेन्साइल मध्ये इन्क्रीज केला. कुठेपर्यंत वाढवू शकतो तो आपण? सिग्मा 2 प्रिन्सिपल स्ट्रेस 2 म्हणजे y डायरेक्शन मध्ये ते आपण त्या स्पेसिमनला ताणलं. कुठेपर्यंत? यील्ड स्ट्रेस पर्यंत. जर यील्डच्या पुढे गेलं तर काय होईल? परमनंट डिफॉर्मेशन होईल. त्यामुळे आपल्याला हा जो पॉइंट मिळाला इथपर्यंतच आपण त्याला टेन्साइल स्ट्रेस देऊ. ओके. तसं काय केलं, सिग्मा 1 ची व्हॅल्यू 0 ठेवली आणि सिग्मा 2 न त्याला कॉम्प्रेस केला. कुठेपर्यंत कॉम्प्रेस करू शकतो? सिग्मा y एवढं, यील्ड स्ट्रेस एवढं. 4 पॉइंट मिळाले. Hello? Do you get it?
Yes, sir.
Okay. Then what we can say according to this theory, that any stress which has developed between this square or inside this square, that will be the shape stress for given specimen, given object. Though you are going to apply two principal stresses, any load which has generated inside this square is called as shape. Let me see, if suppose I apply here the sigma y value is suppose 300 megapascal, and if I apply 150 megapascal, and in that case sigma 2 is 0, can we say that that component is shape?
Yes, sir.
Okay. Suppose what happens, sigma x I have kept, or sigma 1 I have kept as the same, and sigma 2 I goes on increasing up to 150. सिग्मा 2 पण 150 वापरला, काय होईल? फेल्युअर होईल का? कारण सिग्मा 2 पण गेलेला नाही, सिग्मा y एवढा म्हणजे यील्ड स्ट्रेस एवढा, सिग्मा 1 पण यील्ड स्ट्रेस एवढा गेलेला नाही. व्हॉट वी कॅन से?
It is safe.
It is safe. Okay, that will check with the practical examples to the next lecture. Okay, till now do you have any question?
No, sir.
No. Okay. So you can put your roll number and you can leave meeting. Thank you for listening me. If you have any doubt, you are free to ask. Don't put your number twice. Put only once. Whether everybody has written roll number? Write your roll numbers. Vijay Patil, sorry, Viraj Patil. Suyog Jadhav. Are you listening me? Viraj Patil. Suyog Jadhav. Sontakke. Okay.
Yes, sir.
Okay, okay. Your written number. And what about Suyog? Suyog Jadhav. Are you listening me? Okay, I'll end this meeting. Thank you for listening me.